Hey there, students. In the last video, we were creating a whistle. I finished up the whistle as far as the shape, and it now makes some sound, okay? Also, let me just show you, if you want to add a hole, you could take your fettling knife, poke it in. You could do 2 or 3, whatever you want to do. Put your finger over that. So there we are. So I'll let that dry. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to create the rattle. All right. So we'll start off with the same technique. We'll go ahead and make 2 pinch pots. And the size is up to you. This is like a small plum, or maybe like the size of a golf ball. It could be a little bit bigger, it could be a little bit smaller. And again, part of the project is it has to rattle, it has to work. So I'm going to show you the basis, and you could modify this as much as you'd like. You could make it into, this is not really a rattle, but you could carve it to make it look like a person or a character. This is the one that actually works. Okay, this man with a cigarette. Or again, this one. All right. So we have the basic form here of half of the rattle. We're going to make this a little thinner because we want the sound to be sort of clear. And if it's too thick, it'll make a thud sound. So we're going to just pinch this rather quickly. Again, you want to keep a pinch pot always in your hand to keep it nice and round. You can see I'm using both hands. I'm still using the same technique. I'm pinching towards the bottom and then working around and sort of up. If it dries up again along the edge, you could just take your fingers and smooth it out. And we want this to be slightly open shape. Okay, it's going to be made just like we did the whistle. There you are. Do another one. If you have lumps and bumps, it helps to first smooth those out a little bit. All right, so here we go. Pinch pot number 2. Let's get in the frame. All right, again, make it pretty thin. Let's say about the thickness of a regular sized pencil. Maybe if you can, a little thinner, it'll give it a better sound. And again, if you start to see cracks like this, just take your finger and blend it together. Don't use any water. If you use water, you're moving around just the slip on the surface and it's going to make it weak. So try not to use water. So again, we'll pinch it a little bit more. Keep it in my hand. Make sure it's a little even here. Flatten that down. All right, I think we're looking okay. So there you are, 1 pinch pot, 2 pinch pots. And one is a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to stretch this out a little bit more so they match up better. All right, so that should do it. Then again, scratch up the surface, called scoring. So again, I have this serrated edge. You could use a saw blade if you happen to have a saw blade lying around, which I'm sure you all do, handy. Score it up again. But most important, do not put them together until you put the rattle part in it. So what we're going to do is you're going to take some clay like that and make, it's up to you, 2 or 3, 4 or 5 little balls. And you need to put them in a piece of paper towel or a little piece of newspaper and set them inside. If you don't put them in a piece of paper, it won't work because the clay is sticking to the surface and they won't rattle. All right, so So just put it in just a tiny piece of paper. Doesn't need to be much. And it's up to you how many pieces of clay you put in there. The different sizes will make a different sound also. So this one's a little bit bigger. Okay, you can see the size there. And I have 3. Let's do 2 small ones now. So it'll make a little bit different sound. So roll it up. Whoops. There you go. When the rattle is fired up to 1880 degrees, the paper will obviously burn away. All right. So there we are. Wrap it up. All right. So don't forget to put this in. That's the rattle sound. Then, like we did in the whistle, move away. Put some water, or again, if you have some slip, on the edge. Now, you only have to put it on 1 inch, but we basically are going to put these together now. And like we did with the whistle, you want to really blend it together as best you can. And then if you have a paddle, or like I said, a spoon of some sort, it helps to get that seam together. See, it's starting to split open right there. So we'll okay, so there we are. So right now it's not going to make any sound because it's non-fired clay. But once you have the basic form, you could do things like squeeze the clay, score it up, add some water, score this part, and you could mash it on, blend it in, so you create a handle for it. Okay? It's up to you what you want to do with it, and I want you to be creative. I don't want to show you too much. I want you to be work intuitively, and let's say this is looking like a candy, piece of candy. You could make it a piece of candy, or a snow cone, or ice cream cone, or a candy apple, whatever you want to do. But make sure you create it into something. All right, so obviously this is sort of gooey. We're going to have to let this dry. But one of the things you have to remember, if you want the sound to leave the chamber, you need to put some air holes or some openings. So I'm going to use just the back of this paintbrush and put some holes. Maybe this could have been a bird or a person. Those could have been the eyes. But we want to put several holes. One is to let the sound out, most important. But second, if you trap air in ceramics in the firing, so there's air trapped in here right now. If we were to fire this, the air would expand in the clay and the whole thing would blow up in the kiln. So we don't want that. All right, so I'm just putting some holes in here. You could also do this a little more decoratively. Don't make the holes too big so the clay falls out later. Got it? Okay, so that's the basics for making a clay rattle. And again, we're going to work on both of the rattle and the whistle. You could do them at the same time. You're going to have 3 weeks to work on both and finish them. But one of them you will turn in halfway through. Okay, so at about middle of next week, not the week coming up, but the following week, you will turn in one project. And then after another week and a half, you will turn in the following project or the next project. Okay, so there you are. Hope you enjoy and hope you're all doing well.